Hey everyone, Brian here from Vintage Classic Specialist. It is time for another episode of Day in the Life of Vintage Classic Specialist. So here we are on a Wednesday. Let's see what happened here today. Let me start with Mr. Rafa. So Rafa, again, focused on this thing. Again, there's little details that still need to be done, and that's kind of what he's just chipping away at. So let me see if I can, luckily I'm thin here, squeeze through here. So, yes, we're still waiting on those. We've got some coming that we're hoping are going to be correct looking. But anyway, so yeah, the wipers and wiper blades went on today. We still need to get the little cosmetic caps that go over those. Wolfsburg West has those. So yeah, those went on. And then he spent a lot of time today just going and testing all the electrical things. Heard him tooting the horn earlier and checking the headlights and the high-low switch and stuff like that. He did encounter one thing that was not working, and that was the turn signals. And so it seems that the turn signal stock is bad. So we'll have to get a new one. Hoping to use the original one because it looks amazing. And we went and restored it and stuff, but yeah, it's sadly it's not working. So I don't know. He didn't say what it was doing or not doing, but he diagnosed it and figured that the turn signal stock itself, which is not too surprising. It's over 50 years old, and so yeah. But yeah, we try and use original switches when we can, and most of the time they still work. But in this case, sadly, nope on that one. Turn signal stock. Everything else he's tested so far, electrical works. He didn't try and start it, but he did test the starter and that wiring, and he said the motor turned over and everything. So I think he also, let's see what else he did. He put the air cleaner element in it, and he adjusted the front brake rotors. The bearings I don't think had been adjusted previously. They had been left a little bit loose. So just little loose ends like that. No pun intended. Going around the car, tidying things up, and yeah, those are kind of the main things that he did. Just going through, just checking and double checking everything. And again, the car pretty much I could put gas in it now and start it up, and I may even later this week take it for its first little parking lot drive. But yeah, we'll see. I got enough around here keeping me busy that I may just wait till Monday and let Rafa do it. He's pretty much been the one building this car, so may let him take it for the first little spin here. But yeah, guys, super close on this one, so stay tuned, and if not this week, then next week you should be seeing some video of this thing moving under its own power, which will be amazing. This car actually did move under its own power when it came in. This was a running, driving car, and it was in pretty decent shape considering its unrestored condition when it came in. And Jacob and I think it was actually, we took it for a little spin around the block before we started yanking it apart. So, but yeah, obviously it was nowhere near this nice and was in desperate need of a restoration. So there you go. As for me today, I had some personal matters to attend to. And so I was in briefly this morning, and then I wasn't back in until I think 1 this afternoon, and kind of catching up on some things and stuff like that. So I didn't get a heck of a lot done today, but I did do a few things on this puppy here that were sort of lingering. One is, I think I mentioned recently that the brake light switch seems to have failed. And when you would turn the key on, the brake lights were just on, regardless of whether you were stepping on the brake pedal or not. And so I went and I diagnosed the associated wiring. And I knew that the brake lights had worked before because, obviously I checked them. It's part of what we do when we put a car together. They knew they worked. And so, yeah, I went around and tested things, and sure enough, it seems that the switch itself has gone bad. This is the culprit here, and look at that. No real resistance to speak of, and obviously there's no pressure on it at the moment. So Yeah, that kind of stinks, but you know, it's not a huge job. I had the new one in there. It probably took about half an hour total, jacking the car up, pulling the wheel off, replacing the switch, etc. So that was one thing I did, and now they work beautifully. Another thing I did was I had noticed that the shifting on this car, particularly first and second, were a little like a little notchy, which is okay when everything's new. The shifting does tend to be a little bit tight, but it was kind of like notchy in an unpredictable way. And so what I mean by that is like sometimes it would slide into first or second really, really easy, and then other times it seemed like the effort was kind of higher than it should be, which that usually tells me that something is wore out in the shifting linkage. And transmission is, of course, is brand new rebuilt, and I put a restored shift coupler at the back that Washburn metal sells. You can look those up. They use new German bushings in them and stuff like that. And so I was kind of fiddling around with it, and I happened to pull the shifter and look in the tunnel, and somehow we never replaced the shift bushing on this one, the bushing that goes on the shaft that runs from the shifter to the transmission. And I swear that we had, but apparently not, because it still had one of the sort of white plastic, very failure prone ones in it. And so yanked that thing out and threw it in the garbage where it belongs, and put in a genuine Delrin one from our friends at Washburn's Metal. Put that in, and yeah, now the shifting is super precise, and so yeah, took care of that. Again, I have seen those regular traditional style shift bushings fail in like maybe, I don't know, hundreds of miles or so. The Bahama Blue 64 that we finished last year had one of those in it. It was before we started using the Delrin ones, and yeah, that car maybe had like a couple hundred miles on it, and that shift bushing failed. And so last time that car was in, I replaced it with a Washburn's Metal Delrin one, and I'm sure there will never be an issue with that again. So same thing. So now this one got the upgrade too, and shifting should be great for the rest of eternity. So other than that, yeah, I took it for a few little test drives. Yeah, so getting super close. The owner is, I think, going to be out of town towards the end of this week, and so I'm going to try and have everything I need to do done, and so that he can take the car, or they can take the car, I should say. It's family, like next week sometime. So yeah, very excited for them to get their little family treasure back and start enjoying it the way that it was meant to be. So that was part of my afternoon. Another thing I did today was, before I went out this morning for a while, was I did run over and get a can of paint for this car to use as a paint reference for having paint made up. And let me see, I think, yeah, this is it right here. So there you go, Java Green. So if you guys don't know, oops, and now I just put a fingerprint on it, should be dry. If you guys don't know a company called Temple Restorations, you should look them up. I believe he has a website. If not, I'm sure you can find him on like Instagram and stuff. So Temple Restorations, a guy named by the name of Kevin, that makes spray paint in pretty much every Volkswagen body color and the colors for like the interior parts, seat frames, et cetera, pretty much every color ever used on these things. He makes almost all of them. And so again, for this car, since this car was pearl white to start with, and we didn't have any Java Green parts laying around to use as a reference. So normally a car comes in and say, like this green Ghia here, for example, we'll find a part of the Beetle that has the paint like well preserved on it. Like usually like the underside of the hood, which essentially never sees the sun. Like I'm talking about the actual bottom of the hood lid. Usually the paint there is like really good. Or sometimes the underside of the gas door. Like usually there's something on these cars that you can take and polish it up and get it, nice and shiny, and then have the paint shop that we use that as a reference. and then they'll mix up the paint, and it's usually like dead on, and then we paint the car. And so we did the same thing with the signal orange car over here, and that's normally what we do. But this car, again, since it's having a color change, and we didn't happen to have any Java green parts laying around, Temple Restorations to the rescue. So again, bought a can of his paint in Java green, and then Renee painted that tail light housing there, or excuse me, license plate light housing that I showed you there. And so yeah, we'll take that and have them mix it up based on that, and it'll be dead on. So yeah, that was another minor thing that I did, but yeah, so now we can get the paint mixed up for this thing. And this thing is probably going to be Java green here in the next maybe week, or yeah, probably in that time frame. Okay, so the other thing I did today, just a wee bit, is these things came in finally, which again, I've mentioned these before because we use them on this car as well, and I've used them on other cars, is when you're running heater boxes with a non-stock exhaust system, you need somehow to get from the heater box to the breastplate, and then from there, obviously, it goes to the fan shroud. So the stock VW muffler has like an adapter kind of built into it, and that's what helps connect the heater box to ultimately the hose. But again, with an aftermarket, like a header or this Arboth style muffler we put on here, you know, there's no such thing on the muffler, header, whatever. So that's where these come in, made by CSP in Germany. And yeah, so slick little adapters. They're kind of a pain, but really it's the best option for, you know, doing this adaptation, so to speak. So I slipped those on. They're pretty hard to get on because this bend is hard to make. And so normally what I do is I would, like, in this case, I pulled the header off and I slipped them down over the heater box, and then bend them like that way, and then put the header back on, and then bend them back up this way. So I did that with both of them, knowing that they would probably be a bit long, but I wanted to see how long they are. And so now I've seen that. So now I've kind of marked them here, and I'll go in and I'll trim a little bit off the bottoms of them, about 1/2 inch or so, test fit them again. And so the goal is, of course, for this to just sit like right under the breastplate. And right now it's about 1/2 inch too high on both sides. So that'll be the next step, is pull those back off again, trim them, retest fit. Probably have to do that once, maybe twice, and then they'll be all fit. I did, speaking of this fuel injected and soon to be air conditioned motor for, this is for Big Blue, if you're new here, 69 bay window. I did talk to Gilmore Enterprises, I think that was this morning, and the air conditioner kit for this guy is supposed to ship Thursday or Friday. So I think at this point what I'm going to do is, once that kit arrives, I'm going to do all the fitting, all the modification, etc. of the tin to fit the air conditioner system on here. And then at that point, I'll probably pull the air conditioner off, set it aside, and then at that point, probably go ahead and send all the tin work out and have it all powder coated, final powder coating. And then when it comes back in, I'll assemble everything again, minus the air conditioner. And I want to run this motor on the test stand with the fuel injection, and probably dyno it as well. Maybe at AJ's, because he's the one that makes the fuel injection system. So it'd probably be better to do it there than at Roth Vintage. But one way or the other, I want to run this motor on the test stand with the fuel injection and dyno it. So that will be coming up maybe next couple weeks or so. We'll see, guys. But stay tuned for that. Should be very cool to see this little bad boy, or not little, it's 2161 cc's. See this bad boy on the dyno here with the fuel injection. And yeah, then after that, it's going to be going in that bus in the not too distant future, as well as the air conditioner, rest of it going in, so I can show you guys how that all ties in up there. So Santiago has pretty much finished the upholstery on that 64 custom Beetle. That car is leaving in the morning. This is the one that we did the carpet and headliner on. Very custom car. I will film that car tomorrow morning before it leaves, and then I will splice that video into tomorrow's day in the life because I really want to show it to you guys. And so yeah, that car will be gone tomorrow by the time I do this episode, but I'll film it in the morning before it leaves so you can see the very nice work that Santiago did. And Rene, of course, continued working on, actually he's working now on the 72 Gia. That's the blood red, I can never remember, blood red or blood orange Carmen Gia, the 72, that's the next Gia in line. And so that's it, guys, for today. So thank you as always for watching, and we'll see you again tomorrow.